Hello guys, welcome back to my kitchen, and today I'm doing it's just shy of 9 pounds of pork loins and everything I'm going to do with them. So we start out again. This is my 16 quart Cuisinart. There's 12 quarts of water in here, and then my 9 pounds. And then because there's no bones in this is boneless pork loins, but it's still got a lot of fat on it, which is great. We'll be able to make pork broth and not bone broth. And then we're going to make shredded pork and can the shredded pork so I can make barbecued pulled pork in 10 minutes from out of my cupboard. Alright guys, let's get to it. 9 pounds or just shy of 9 pounds of boneless pork loins, half a cup of lemon juice. Because this is not bones, you don't necessarily need to have apple cider vinegar. My grandma and great grandma always used lemon juice if it was pork and only meat and no bones, and I kind of like the flavor of it. And then we have half a tablespoon of salt, and I use Applewood smoked sea salt for everything. Then turn it on high, put the lid on it, and let it boil for 6 to 8 hours. Alright guys, we'll be back. Alright guys, I boiled it for 4 hours, turned it off, let it, come down and relax. It's still rather warm. And then I've just taken my fork and found the big pieces, break them up into smaller pieces so that it'll start breaking down even more. And as you can see, the water's already become rather brothy. Now, a lot of the water has boiled away, obviously, because that will happen. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding another 2 quarts of water and then starting the boiling process again. I turned it off. It boiled for a little over 4 hours. And then I turned it off, and it has been calming down and relaxing for 45 minutes. And then I've broken it all apart, and then I will turn it back on and boil it for another 4 hours, but I'll be adding some more water. And no, that will not thin it down, because now you're getting the inside of the meat that's not cooked yet and more of the fat that's not cooked yet. So it'll just break down more and add to the broth that's already there. So it won't be too watery, don't worry. Alright, I got all the big chunks broken down into semi-bigger chunks. And then they'll start to fall apart more naturally on its own as it boils. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add more water. I'm going to turn it on to boil longer. And we'll be back, you guys. Alright, you guys. It boiled for just over 4 hours. I turned it off and let it cool down. Or calm down, which was about half hour, 45 minutes. And then I broke it apart with the knife. Then I turned it back up to a hard rolling boil and turned it down to this gentle simmer. And now I'm taking a potato masher and just mashing and helping it along to fall apart. See, fall apart into shredded pork. And we're going to keep letting it boil. All together, we want it to boil for about 8 hours. So far we've got 6. We're going to crush up some of this pork, help it along. And I keep boiling it and pressing it and mashing it. At about the 6 hour mark, I come over here and do this about every 10 minutes. Until there's no more big chunks left. And then you let it boil for however long left until you get to 8 hours. Then we'll strain it, and we will have shredded pork and pork broth. Alright guys, we'll be back. There we have it, you guys. It has been boiling slash simmering for 8 hours. As you can see, the water level has gone down again. I had put the 2 quarts in, but through boiling and steaming, you know, you do lose some. So all I'm going to do is turn it off. We're going to let it settle and relax for about 45 minutes, and then we're going to strain and separate it. And I'm guessing I'm going to get 4 to 6 quarts of broth and 2 to 3 quarts of shredded pork. We'll see when we come back. Alright, here we go, you guys. Now all we do is strain it. In the bottom will be the broth, and the cloth will be the shredded pork. And you see, once it got to 4 hours, we broke it apart with the big fork. And then from between 6 hours and 8 hours, as it was having a rolling simmer, we took our potato masher and stuck it in the bottom of the pot and mashed it up every 10 or 15 minutes, and we got good shredded pork and great pork broth. So I'm just going to get all of this strained and get it hung up, and I'll be back to show you what I am going to do next. Alright guys, I finished straining it. I bunched it up and hung it up and let it drip and separate the broth from the pork. I didn't get any of that filmed because I had to charge my battery. Then after I got it separated, I stuffed the jars 3/4 full of the shredded pork and topped it off with water. Now I use water because I want less fat in my shredded pork for when I make tacos or shredded pork subs or barbecued pulled pork. You can use the pork broth you just made, but it's kind of a waste of the broth when you want the broth for soups and stews and you were separating it anyways. You can also use like powdered pork stock or even store-bought stock if you want. I mean, it's kind of a waste of money, but you can do whatever you want. You can fill the jar with whatever you want. I use water. So 3/4 full, top it off with water. Always, always, always debubble. I'm going to have to add some more water. Now use wood or plastic. Don't ever use metal. You could cause scratching and scraping. And then, I got to grab more water. Hang on. Okay. Don't use metal. It could cause a small crack in the jar, then it could crack in the canner, and then all food that you just processed, including your other jars, are no good no more, because you never know if a tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of glass got up and under the rim of the jar and into the other jars. So the whole everything is no good if you get break glass. So fill it up 3/4, top it off, debubble, clean the rim, lid, ring, boom, and then into the canner. I'm going to finish filling these up and I'll bring you back, guys. Hello, guys. Alright. This is the end product of the pork. Now, you didn't see me putting the jars, the broth in the jars, because my husband and daughter were filming their episodes because this new camera that I'm using for instructional videos is their vlogging and garden and bug camera. So now we're all sharing a single camera. So this step-by-step pork instructional video has become more of a quote-unquote speed canning video, and I will leave a link down below to how to pressure can, and the time for it is 90 minutes because it's meat. Now I got 6 jars of the shredded pork and 6 jars of the pork broth, and all of that out of, it was just under 10 pounds of pork. Now I'm going to show you a bonus here that I got. So I got 12 jars of pork products out of just under 10 pounds of shredded pork. Now because I got 12 jars and I needed to fill up the canner, I ended up pulling out some beef roast, some gorgeous beef roast. And I did the beef roast exactly the same way I did the pork loins, exactly the same way I did the chicken. You add the beef, you add water, you boil it, you get your beef broth, and look at how beautiful this is. And it's even got the fat on it. It is such gorgeous beef broth. And then, now these, the main reason I do shredded beef is we do a knockoff Philly cheesesteak. My husband can't handle roast beef, but this doesn't bother him, so we do this to make a knockoff Philly cheesesteak. If you'd like to see how I do that, leave a comment down below and let me know you want to see how I do my Philly cheesesteaks. And then I also use the beef broth for when I'm making this beef stew that I make. If you want to see that, me making my beef stew, let me know down below. It's different than my oven beef, my oven roast stew. My beef stew is different. So I do have my oven roast stew in my cooking playlist. But my beef stew that I do is different than that. And that's what I use this beef broth for. So I got 3 jars of beef and 3 jars of the stock, and that was a 4 1/4 pound roast that I had. So my 3 jars of shredded beef are actually 2 quarts and 1.5 pints. And then they're filled with water, not the beef broth, because the main reason I do all of this is I want the broth and the meat, like the pork and the beef, separate. I try to keep, when I'm doing the meat itself, you're always going to still have fat, but I do it this way to try to split up the fat as much as possible, because then when I'm making any number of things, one of them would be my Philly cheesesteaks, I'm adding fat back into it when I fry up my peppers and my onions. So the less fat that's in here when I add the beef to the peppers and the onions, the less fat overall that you have in your Philly cheesesteak. Because remember, you're now turning around and adding cheese. The less fat you have overall altogether, and it's better for you health-wise. Now with my shredded pork, I use shredded pork for all kinds of things. Use them for quesadillas, I use them for soup, I use them for stew, I use them for barbecued pulled pork. If we decide out of the blue that we want barbecued pulled pork and I've been cooking or canning or Christmas baking or gardening or I've had a really long, busy day, and I don't have time to make a quick dinner, or don't have time to make a long dinner, and I can only make a quick dinner. The shredded pork and the shredded chicken work excellent for, you know, barbecued chicken or barbecue pulled pork sandwiches. Quickly, you just drain them, put them in a cast iron pan with your barbecue sauce, heat them all up, and you've got it. If you want to see a video on how I do those, let me know in the comment section down below. Alright guys, 10 pounds of pork, just under 10 pounds of pork, and 4.5 pounds of beef got me all of that beautiful product. And then down here I have some bacon, because I ended up making, because I had 12 jars of the pork, so I made beef to make room, finish filling up the canner, and then I ended up having too much beef to and had another partial empty canner because I made so much beef, so then I ended up making bacon. So what it originally started out as just 10 pounds of pork ended up turning into all of this. This is another one of my grandmother and grandfather's ideas of waste not, want not. Waste room in your canner, you must not want the food you can produce. Alright guys, thanks for coming along. Leave a comment down below about anything you might want to see me do or make with this stuff. Leave a comment down below on anything else you'd like to see me make or do that has nothing to do with any of this. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell notification. It helps our channel grow. We're trying to grow our channel. We have got so many videos and so many instructional information for people. Help us grow our channel by sharing it. Even liking it and commenting on it helps spread our video and helps give YouTube a reason to want to suggest our video to other people. Alright guys, we'll see you in the next one, and remember, stay positive. Bye!